me your feeling after voting today.
Yeah, after voting, I'm feeling okay. What I want, I get it on with the result. I'm getting the party I want is the one going on. Thank you for that.
What are you expecting?
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Thank you very much for joining me this evening. The people of Abia, happiness, they voted, and the party going on now is what they voted for. So the people of Abia are really, really happy these days. They are getting what they bargained for. They are getting that which they, um, you know, voted for. Now, this evening, we will be looking at two important issues, happening in Nigeria. This evening, the broadcast is going to be more or less have your say. So, if you wish to join us, if you think there is something you have to say as the broadcast progresses, you can request for us to share the studio link. You can join us here, and let's have that conversation. Now, the conversation, I might have opinion that some of us may not eventually like, but I think in the broader spectrum here, it is always nice to. I mean, many of you know I'm not entirely a conformist, especially to the issues concerning the status quo. So we may, in some areas, differ and disagree. The bottom line here is very simple. That we have Abia State, a state that has repealed the pension law. You know, uh, like it was before. If you take Lagos, for instance, Lagos has where they will pay millions to the former state governors and change their cars every other year. I think every 2 years or 3 years, and pay their cooks, pay their you know also in most times people also would think that they pay for the as a room too, but on a serious, Abia State under Alex Otti has repealed this law with the Abia State House of Assembly. The House of Assembly repealed the Abia State pension for the governor and the deputy governor pension law of 2021, right? So the thing that many of us would then question here is this really good? Do you think this is good? Do you have different opinion? Right? Many I've read many who say that this is playing to the gallery. But again, here, let us actually look at it from a different angle. Um, Abia State really spends money paying their former governors. Many of them even receiving payment when they are in the Senate. Abia State has been one state where all their former governors since 1999, with the exception of Ibazo, the last one, who tried and failed, all of them are in the Senate, until 2023. You had in the last dispensation the first governor in Abia State in 1999 was, before the interruption, if you can hear me, is that Abia State government has stopped the payment of pension of former governors. Many people have, praised that decision to say that that decision is really a good one and in the right direction. Whereas there are people who have concern as regards to that decision of Abia State, right? Can you? Okay. So I believe everyone can hear me. There are people who do not agree with that. Now let's explore this, and this is where you may have to, if you have a different opinion, you can come in here. Obviously, what we provide here is where we all can, respectfully argue things out and share opinions without necessarily going on each other's neck. Now, here, um, the like I said before, that I was interrupted. I was basically saying that the Abia State House of Assembly has repealed the Abia State Governors and Deputy Governors Pension Law number 4 of 2021, right? Of 2021. That law of the current one was in 2021. Now, and what that law states is that a principal officer, that is that these governors, ex-governors in this case, Oji Zokalo, Teoda Oji, and Okezie Ikpeazu of all PDP, that they shall not receive, any pension in this sense, you know. But again, there is another angle to it, because a principal officer of the House of Assembly said that the repealed law provided for security. That is what, the law that they've stopped. It provided for medicals. It provided for cooks. It provided for stewards, among other things, for these former governors and deputy governors. According to these officers, the pension amount, which is for life until they die, until they die, will be determined by the incumbent governor, adding that on death, the state governor will still have to pay the family an amount equal to the deceased annual salary, and these are the expense of the government. Now, in principle, this idea is noble, this idea is good. However, there are challenges that I personally, this is my opinion. There are challenges that I see with these laws. One is the executive, obviously, still, even with or without pension, those that want to steal will steal. But one thing that I see there is, what is the possibility that, let's say, Alex Otti wins in 2031, by 2035, another person eventually comes in? What is the guarantee that the next person that comes in will not again repeal this law to bring this back? Two, if we say that state governors will serve without pension, will that not increase the likelihood of them trying to commingle and amass wealth for the days when strength will no longer be there? Three, by repealing this law, isn't that a case that, someone would go ahead and see how they can amass wealth now, as opposed to someone who is, put it this way. If by repealing this law, wouldn't that then mean that someone who is not extremely rich will no longer think of becoming a governor? I explain. Imagine you are doing well, but obviously you haven't come to the point where you can retire actually and not minding of how you survive. Then bear in mind that Nigeria, we are still at a position where election cost a lot of money, right? And in the election, these individuals spend so much money to get elected. And he comes in, he doesn't steal. How is that individual going to take care of the old age when after serving? Because let's say the individual wins for 2 terms. In my personal observation, in my personal capacity, in my personal thinking, I would have thought, if I'm to advise Abia State government, is to say the outrageous pension of the state government should and must be repealed. However, I would let that be in line with whatever the the permanent secretary, as of any point in time, is receiving, or whatever a professor at a university, in fact, let's say whatever a professor at a university is receiving. So if a professor at a university is receiving 500,000 monthly, as as a salary, then that's what the ex-governors will receive. Because as days go by, this should be changed. Then anchor it on what the a professor at a state university or a university in the state, let's say Abia State University, APSU, whatever a university professor is receiving, that should be what they are receiving. Do you agree? Or do you think that it is excellently well that all these things are yanked off, that all these things are banned, that these things are removed entirely? You know, it has really excited a lot of people, myself included. It is indeed something very, very good. But I think there is a hack. I think there is something there that we can do better with. I do not know if it is entirely correct to say that every single thing that has to do with pension would go off. Have we thought about if we let everything go off, wouldn't that push people into stealing more when they are in office? If we have a good man who hasn't amassed so much wealth in his private life come into governance, how would that then make the individual govern? Would that make the individual to, amass so much wealth that when he retires, then he agrees? We have, we are lucky in the person of Peter Obi, who was a former bank executive, a very, very rich businessman who was able to, um, you know, um, he had his own personal funds. In Abia are very lucky to have Alex Otti, who was also a very, very, rich banker. So he had already amassed certain level of wealth that even if he doesn't work, he can still probably have enough investment within the banking sector that can keep him. But is that a guarantee that the next person that will come after him would be in that position of Peter Obi and Alex Holt in terms of financial stability? Does that mean that if you are not that extremely rich, you cannot dream to govern a state, even with all the ideas that you have? I think this is something that we'll have to, we should ponder about. I know many times some people, that have been offered their positions within government and they said no. The reason is that some of them have better paying jobs at their places of abode, especially those in the diaspora. If you go by that, that means we might be losing certain talents that could help us. If we go back again during the time of Chief Olusegun Obasanjo as president of this federation, that was why when Nigeria needed Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, one of the agreement was that she must be paid equivalent of what she was earning then in the United States. And again, you know that on the average, many people, if you're working in the US, not the high earning doctors or whatever, you know that people earn about $3,000 to $4,000 on the average. In today's naira, $3,000 to $4,000 is between 3 million to 4.5 million, depending on the exchange rate. But let's take the medium here. We say about 3.5 million. Someone who earns 3.5 million and does a decent job. Now, this is not a high flying job, by the way. These are normally 50,000 PA, 60,000, $70,000 per annum job. That's on the average. That individual will find it very difficult, no matter, as long as the individual doesn't, is not a kind of person that comes into government to steal. He or she will find it difficult to accept any position because You can imagine in Nigeria, even commissioners don't earn 500,000 naira. So how do you want that individual to function? So that is my personal opinion. While I applaud this, I like the move because the level of payment was criminal. The volume. I mean, you can't just say, okay, we'll pay all your medical bills, we'll do this, we'll buy you, we'll give you cook, you know. I think Lagos has flights. Lagos and Rivers, I think, had um, in there. They had you build them 3, 4 bed, a duplex in Abuja and a duplex in the state capital, and policemen in Abia, policemen in state capital, and come on, that's so ridiculous. Actually, it's nothing but kind of trying to rape the people that you have come to serve. That is the way I would put it. You know, I'll put it. But there is a twist to this. The former governor and deputies of Abia State, including Ojuzo Okalu, Theodoji, and Ikbazu, came out today to say that they have not been receiving any pension. That was another twist. While they were reacting to the assembly decision, um, one of Ojuzo Okalu's aides said that Ojuzo Okalu, as a former governor, never received any pay from Theodoji. Never received any dime from Theodoji. No, Theodoji won an election from prison. Ojuzo Okalu rigged the election for him under PPA. When he came out eventually, both men fell apart. They parted ways. Hence the reason why he never, according to them, never paid. Recall again that even when Theodoji wanted to go for second term, he could no longer get the ticket of PPA. He went into Abga. Then Ojukwu was still vibrant. He was welcomed into Abga. Within 48 hours, he left Abga into PDP and eventually won re-election under PDP. Now, according to this report, throughout the 8 years of Abia State, throughout the government of Theodoji, Ojuzo Okalu never received a penny as pension. Okay. Now, he went even further to say, the guy went further to say that even when Ikpeazu took over from Theodoji, that Ikpeazu continued that same thing without, payment, that Ojuzo Okalu never received any payment. Whether they received payment or not, I wouldn't know why he'll be talking about receiving payment, because the guy was there in the Senate collecting salary. I mean, unless he wanted to collect 2 salaries. But now that umbilical cord has been, cut into pieces, and they no longer receiving anything, right? But again, Ikpeazu's spokesperson, Emme Manka, in a statement that they issued yesterday, said the attention of the immediate past governor of Abia State, Dr. Okezi Ikpeazu, has been drawn to a report circulating online to the effect that Abia State House of Assembly has repealed the 2001 law under which former governor and deputy governors were paid some money as pension. He said that report, which was obviously sponsored and couched to give the false impression that Ikpeazu is among governors of the state currently receiving. You know why I'm laughing? Everybody now is now talking. Everybody, everybody is now talking. I receive money, I not receive money. But in nowadays, there is something that is very funny, because Ndabia are very happy with their governor, the one that they've elected. Like my good friend Ibrahim.
All right. Have you voted?
I'm voted, yeah.
Okay, so
I'm happiness, I'm voted, yeah.
tell me your feeling after voting today.
Yeah, after voting, I'm feeling okay. What I want, I get it on the result. I'm getting the party I want is the one going on.
So in all this, Ndabia are saying what I want, he get it because the party is going on. So Ndabia is enjoying the party that they voted for. The That's quite interesting. Abia people are saying we voted for a party and the party is going on and we are happiness more, right? Ndabia happiness more.
All right. Have you voted?
I'm voted, yeah.
Okay, so
I'm happiness, I'm voted, yeah.
tell me your feeling after voting today.
Yeah, after voting, I'm feeling okay. What I want, I get it on the result. I'm getting the party I want is the one going on. Thank you for that.
What are you expecting from these people you voted?
I'm voted, they can do what you want, and then when they want, what they want, inshallah, we're happiness more.
So, inshallah, the people of Abia State are happiness more because they voted for, and what they want is what they want, and the people are happiness more, and the people are jubilating. Roads are being constructed. So the argument is that the monies that they are now saving could actually be put into roads, the roads that are now being constructed in Abia State, where a 31-kilometer of road, 31 kilometers of road is being commissioned, is being, flagged off. Whereas we know, let's not get into state fight, but I know some states where we hear that we've just flagged off 1.2 kilometers of road with cameras and everything with fanfare, and we're like, okay, go to Abia State and see 30 kilometers of road, no fanfare, no nothing. Okay. And let me take some of your comment before I move into the next conversation. This is going to be very short and brief. So if you want to join, you can join quickly. But it's going to be brief because other member of staff are telling me that I have to be very quick because they are going to start the violent space now. And violent space is going to also talk some of these things today. Now, Anthony Parker is some of you are really happiness more. Anthony Parker is saying, I think we should appreciate the member of the State Assembly for allowing the bill to be passed. The question is, Anthony, do you think that this bill will not be repealed after 8 years? Let me take another. Santo Chuk said, is there any profession that someone qualified for pension after working for 8 years? After 8 years, the ex-governor should go into any other profession if he or she is still young. Now, the question is not about being young. I think this is in line with some of the top management and executive positions. The reason, actually, without sentiment here, the reason why people in certain executive positions get paid high is as a result, get paid very, very high is to reduce them being influenced because of money. As an executive governor, executive president, the power of life and death, put it that way, simply, is in the hands of whoever occupies that seat. It is to be handled with care, that you don't make it in a way that as if you're punishing anyone, because honestly, executive powers controls a lot. That's why during the election, people will tell you, do not give executive power to someone who is struggling. Do not give executive powers to someone who hasn't seen resources, who hasn't tested some form of executive powers at some other level. It could be at the community, it could be at the private sector level, or even within some government parastatal level. If not, they might run amok, because you can imagine where in a month, as a sitting governor, you haven't done anything. Your state received 10 billion naira for running up the state. It is beyond being a nice man and being a church individual or a person of sanctimonious integrity. It is beyond those. In as much as these are things that we qualities and characteristics that one needs in order to occupy such offices, but one must also be very careful not to leave it blankly for every Dick and Harry to come and fill in. Therefore, you must put in some checks and balances. And part of the checks and balances here will be to say, okay, there must be some minimalistic, giving back or gratification that is attached to it as a perk. And in my view, I consider it that one of those, very minimalistic perk of that office should be that the pension should be in line with the pension or rather the salary of a serving professor within the university in that state. One thing it will do is it will probably encourage them to pay teachers and professors better. That professors and no longer would either have to jackpot or go elsewhere to earn better money, whereas they can, because what they flaunt or share to their concubines and side chickens and main chickens and table chickens. You know what I mean? It's what a professor probably would, what they would share to them in a month or two is what a professor may earn in 2 3 years. But hey, because they have executive powers, these are people who have security votes that they account to no bloody individual. They can do and play koso as they wish with that money. Therefore, it is something that has to be handled with care, if you ask me. Okay? So again, Ndabia, Ndabia, Ndabia mamano, Ndabia mamano, on a happiness more.
All right. Have you voted?
I'm voted, yeah.
Okay, so
I'm happiness, I'm voted, yeah.
tell me your feeling after voting today.
Yeah, after voting, I'm feeling okay. What I want, I get it on the result. I'm getting the...
So Ndabia, what you want, you get it on the result. Your happiness more that you have voted. So I have never seen a state that is so happiness more of what they got. Honestly, I have never seen a state. The state of Abia State doesn't pay any media to report anything for them. The people of Abia State have carried the matter in their head. They are reporting on their own. Whether you like it or not, you must hear the Abia story. Even when sometimes some of the things coming out of Abia State could be exaggerated. I know some of you won't like, but we deal with facts. But it's fun. It's actually fun to watch where the people themselves have decided to go ahead and deal with these things on themselves. Now, on the second plank of this conversation is Nigeria has released what they call the list of those individuals financing terrorism. When I read the list today, I saw it yesterday, but when I saw it, I thought, nah, well, it's more or less a joke. To be honest with you, I saw it, I thought it was a joke. But until today, the sheikh, the irritatingly sheikh, the one that irritates a lot, the bandit negotiator, the one that negotiates for bandits, the ransom collector, until he began to say that the federal government should, as a matter of urgency, not necessarily engage, in his words, terrorize those that are terrorizing us. I'm like, hey, way, this country, sir. Some people will say this country now, wow. So when you look at this here, right? When you look at this here, this is Sheikh Gumi. Sheikh Gumi is telling Nigerians, Gumi faults terror sponsor list, say terrorism finance themselves through ransom. Okay? That is one headline. Now look at another headline here. This one says terror finance themselves through ransom. Gumi faults government. So what Gumi has actually been saying in all the things that came out today was to say that the federal government should leave these terrorists alone, that they are financing themselves. I know many of you will be wondering, what names do we have in that list? What are the names of individuals that we have in that list? I have the names. Let me quickly pull that up from my other device. Hold on quickly. The names are as follows, and it is a very interesting one, actually. Hold on. Names of those who have. See, let me tell you guys, anyone listening to me now, I will tell you that even these names that were published, if you for 1 second believe that anything will come out of it, then you are not a Nigerian, or rather, you just fell from heaven. You are not in this part of the world. They have published these names. Would anything come out of these names that they've published? I bet you, I am willing to bet any single individual who can tell me, who can argue that this is going to amount to anything. This is going to amount absolutely nothing. Now, another headline has it that Nigerian security agencies have no right to declare anyone terrorist financier. Arresting Mamu, that is the one on the top of the list, is called Mamu. Says arresting Mamu and others for terrorism is also a terrorist act. At that point, when I read that, it cracked me up, because I'm like, well done, Nigeria. Now we are in a state where we accuse someone, then someone goes in and accuses us back. So let me read the names for you now. The first person in that list is Toko Mamu, Yusuf Gwazali, Mohammed Sani, Abubakar Mohammed, Salamuddin Hassan, Adamu Ashak, Hassan Oyaza Isa, Hanana, no, Hassana Uiza Isa, Abu Kadrim Musa, and Omar Abdullahi. All the names have one thing in common. Again, they now have also 6 Brody change that they believe are also used, these firms are used in this transaction. They have the West and East African General Trading Company Limited, Settings Bureau de Change Limited, G-Site General Enterprises, Desert Exchange Venture Limited, Eagle Square General Trading Company Limited, Alpha Exchange BDC. So these are the companies. When you begin to understand what these companies do, you begin to connect the nexus. However, will the system ever be able to punish those behind this? I am willing to bet anyone on this. 100,000 naira, nothing, absolute nothing will come out of it. Why? How do I say so? Antecedents. Recall that under Buhari, the United Arab Emirates gave Nigerians the names of those who they consider terror sponsors. Up to now, what happened? Zilch. Recall again that when Buhari took over, the lying machine of the nation, Lying Mohammed, went on the national TV to rail out, oh, that these people, they are returning money, blah, blah, blah. When people like us queried and said, oh, yeah, now let us now know the names of those who return money so that we know who and who we know who will be calling thieves from today onwards. Until the government left office, no account was provided properly, transparently, and no name was mentioned. At some point, like Mohammed, the same people before the election who were telling us how they are going to do it, told us that the reason why that did never happen was because if they did, they will be in trouble. They could then be prosecuted. I say, Haba, somebody stole our money. And strike a deal. Part of the deal is to return the money, but we want to know who stole our money. And you now tell us that there's going to be a legal action, you know, and that is where we are in that legal action eventually. Nothing, absolutely nothing, um, you know, will happen. According to that report, again, a document which, according to the Punch newspaper, was cited by them, Mamo participated in the financing of terrorism by receiving and delivering ransom payment over $200,000. You see the nexus where the Bureau de Change comes into this conversation, right? Which ransom was that? Take a guess. Take a guess. That was ISWAP Terrorism Act for the release of hostage of Abuja Kaduna train attack. Recall that train attack where they decimated the rail track and abducted the people inside that train. The document said that one of the individual is the suspected attacker of the St. Francis Catholic Church, Owo, Ondo State, on the 5th of June 2022, and the Kuje Correctional Center, Abuja, on July 5th, 2022. Is it making sense now? These are people engaging in these humongous and dastardly acts. Again, they are would anything happen with that one? I don't know. People, anyway, we will do more analysis and we'll do more in-depth analysis on some of these things, ramping up whatever has happened in the week, giving you the opportunity to have your own say over the weekend. We'll devote a lot of time on this, but now because we are running out of time, we are going to be bringing you the violence space. The violence space is going to be hot today. Please join us as we now end this stream. I am still Mazes, okay? If you haven't subscribed to this platform, by every means necessary, subscribe. Click the like button and help us grow this platform, right? Please, 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 because the statistic shows us that many of us keep returning and keep coming back, but has never really bothered to subscribe to this platform. Please, by all means, go ahead and subscribe to this platform where we explore the truth behind the headline. And have a wonderful evening, everyone. Bye for now. Good night.